Sometimes people ask that question and they kind of think, well, so what's your end game? Are you trying to do something like make an animated movie or sell your stuff to Disney? And I'm like, no. This is the dream. Like, this is the dream. It's not something else other than this.
Are you ready for it? Another inspiring artist interview on the Pencil Kings podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Bowler. Let's get to it. Today we've got Daniel Davis, also known as Steam Crow. When I first saw his work, I was completely blown away. I was at the Emerald City Comic Con. His booth, he just goes way over and above.
I have that inspiration like a volcano. Well, I'll show you soon enough. Here's a list of what I want.
So I'm so happy to have you on the call today. Dan, how you doing?
I'm good, and thank you for having me on Pencil Kings. That's awesome.
Yeah, no worries. I feel humbled having you on here because you're so good at what you do. So Steam Crow is, well, just tell people to start off, what is Steam Crow? Who is Steam Crow? What does Steam Crow mean to you?
All right, so Steam Crow is a brand I started with my wife, Donna, and basically in 2005, we attended the San Diego Comic-Con, and I've been a graphic designer for about 10 years at that point, and kind of was seeing that my career was not going to be dazzling. It was pretty dry. I was doing a lot of boring in-house corporate work, and at first getting into that world, it was a victory. I'm a designer, I'm an artist. But after a while of realizing I spent half my time in meetings and it was political and it wasn't ever illustration, I went to the San Diego Comic-Con with my wife, Donna, and she leans over at one point and goes, you could do this. You could make your own art. You could make your own book, and we could sell it. And I thought that was a great idea. And so then I had the audacity to go, I want to be here next year with the booth selling our book. And so we went home. Actually, even before we left, we had the idea for the book at Comic-Con, and at dinner I would sketch, and we would talk about it, and we came home, and I stopped playing video games and stopped watching TV and spent my free time making Caught Creatures, our first book. Anyway, about 2 months later, the book was done, and I applied for WonderCon and Comic-Con and Phoenix Comic-Con and got in, and we started. Basically blessing fans one at a time with a really bad booth design. Our booth was terrible. I had I had a cafe press store was my real confidence builder for the previous year before starting Steam Crow. And I basically printed out posters that I hooked together and laminated together to make a banner. So it was all super glossy. Because it was all crappy, laminated together. And we brought 250 books to our first show, which was WonderCon. And I had 240 under the table. And so I just put a couple out on top of the table meekly. And we had a big pile of prints, so they weren't bagged or backed. And we just did everything wrong. But at that very first show, we talked to everybody, we greeted them. We were finally doing our passion. And somebody goes and buys our book. And then they come back at the end of the show and they go, you know what? Your booth and your stuff, this is the best stuff here. It's my favorite stuff. And that blew my mind because I didn't think that was in the realm of possibility. It just did not occur to me that anyone would ever think that my stuff was their favorite, especially at a show like WonderCon, which, has thousands of other artists and, people that work in the industry. And, I worked in the credit union industry as a web designer. That was a eureka moment. First was Donna giving me the gift of, hey, you can do this, and believing in me. And the second was, if there's one person that digs what we do, there could be more, and there will be more. So we almost made our booth cost back at that first show. We still lost money, but we started learning really fast. We started experimenting with our booth design. We really wanted the booth to be an extension of our products. Steam Crow's this experiment of us just doing what we love and trying to make it work as this kind of art / economic experiment, right? So we started refining and trying new things. I think for our first show, the one thing we got right is Donna hand sewed a tablecloth for us out of denim, a greenish brown denim, and she hand sewed our logo into the front of it. And we used that for the next, 6-7 years as our tablecloth. But the next show, we tried something else. And, we tried some different book stands. And then the next show, we got a better banner. And the next show, we just kept trying and trying new things. And we tried and failed at a whole bunch of things. Around 2008, we built this display that was about 12 or 15 feet high, and it looked like our logo at the time, which was a 3 smokestack thing, right? And it was flat, and it was all in pieces, but all interlocked, and it was made out of like foam, like craft foam kind of stuff, but it was faux painted like copper, and it had big rivets, and it looked awesome, and it had a turning gear on it, except that people came to look at the display and not our products. We tried that for, a season and realized that that was the wrong way to go. So it's really interesting. You've got to keep on iterating and try new things, and the thing that worked great for us, though, was that we had, we didn't just do one show a year. We start off running. I started this at 35, so I felt like there was no time to waste. I had some life experiences. I had a previous business, and so I felt like we were at a point where we were ready. So doing more than one show a year, we were able to iterate and learn really a lot faster. After a while, we're doing, 10 and 15 shows a year, so we're learning a lot faster than people that do one show a year.
Yeah, I think that's so impressive, your ability to iterate so quickly, 10, 12, 15 shows. You mentioned having your first booth with a big logo and the turning gear. Did you instantly see like, oh man, like this was the wrong move, or oh, this was the right move? Is it that obvious, or is it more subtle?
I think it's more subtle, and something else that's happening in the background, that my work was getting better, So that made a big difference. Any brand has to have a focus, right? At first, I was just celebrating the creation of any piece of art, and it didn't necessarily fall under any sort of quasi-steampunk thing. It was just like, hey, I drew this character head that's cute. But in terms of results, I mean, the Steam stand thing, the big Steam stacks, we got we had an improved result at first, actually, I think our sales went up that year. But I kept realizing that people were looking at that, not the product. So, it was just this is better, but I'm thinking we could do better by doing things a little differently. And, if you treat people right along the way, you're starting to kind of sort of, again, we call it blessing fans, where you like really welcome them into your brand. But, some of those people saw us the first year and saw this dinky little booth the next year. They see this big thing with Steam stacks. So for them, it's a plus. Here's an example of another bad mistake. So year one was Caught Creatures, our first book, and we branded ourselves as Steam Crow. The next year we put out a book called Clawberry, and it was this cute little monster girl. And we went all in with Clawberry. We had plushies made, we had the book printed. We decided to brand our booth as the Clawberry booth. Terrible idea. It's such an elementary mistake. But basically, anybody that was looking for us with Caught Creatures couldn't find us the next year unless they really dug in. So again, there's another example of a mistake that we quickly, about 2 shows into that, we're like, wow, that was a bad idea. I guess my whole point is, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Those lessons stick with you in a way that me telling you about skipping the mistake won't.
So when you got started at 35. When did you kind of know that it's like, okay, this is viable? Or did you always just have faith that this was viable? And ever since that first show where you almost made your money back, you're like, hey, if this is our first rodeo.
Well, it's kind of a balance of 2 things. Certainly, I felt like I had found my place in terms of, finding people to enjoy what I did, and so that's an amazing thing. But I think the other side to it was, it wasn't terribly commercially viable at first, you just have to stick with it for long enough to build it up. About year 3, I started interviewing people that were more successful than me, that were, I interviewed Attaboy from High Fructose Magazine. I interviewed Gris Grimley, and I was like, hey guys, I've been doing this for 3 years. I'm not making a living. What am I doing wrong? See? And they were all, well, you're seeing us at 10 years. And it takes time. And so it made me realize that, I wasn't failing at year 3, not making a living yet. I was needing to stick with it longer. You have to have faith, and it takes patience. Because I worked my butt off for those first 3 years. I mean, I worked 40 hours for my day job. I worked 60 hours for me every week. I didn't do anything socially. I just worked. And I just had faith because I was loving what I was doing, I guess. I believe in what we're doing. So I think that goes a long ways.
Definitely got that feeling when I met you and Donna. Could you talk a little bit about what you wear to the conventions? I don't know if you always wear the same thing that I saw you wearing at Emerald City, but I feel like it's a staple, and you've crafted like a persona And I think it's really awesome. And I feel that even if you change your booth, people could, if they've seen you before, they would be like, oh, there's Dan.
Well, it's important, I think, especially with a mini little company that is so personal. We're making what we're passionate about. We're not just chasing cheap fan art to make a quick buck. I mean, absolutely, you are the brand. We had a business before this business called Hunter Davis Studio, and we made handcrafted artisan tiles, like the arts and craft sculpted tiles from like 1910. We wore aprons. We were really artisan artists. We'd wear aprons so we wouldn't get clay on ourselves. So when Donna and I started this company, we really liked that apron and that artisan approach and kind of the message that these aprons that we're wearing, kind of, we're here to serve you and we're artisans. We're not too pompous about our artwork. So we've always worn aprons. I think we've got loads of them. Donna hand makes them for us. So that it's sort of just a symbol of our kind of what we believe in, and even if it's just for us.
I think it works so well. I thought it was really unique, the sort of husband-wife dynamic. Could you speak to that a little bit? Donna pushed you obviously in the very beginning, and you guys are now just a team, right? As I understand it, you work together, or does she have a day job on the side, or?
She didn't have a day job until just like a month ago, and she quit it to work for us full time.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome.
Donna, while she pushed me into this direction, she's like, yeah, this is your thing. You should go do this. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're an artist too. And I really knew that this was going to take all of my energy to get off the ground. And it has for years. And I realized that if it wasn't something we were doing together, that we're building a life together with this, it was going to take us apart. So I insisted that this wouldn't be called Daniel Davis Incorporated or whatever. It was something that we were, needed to do together.
I have something more. Something none of your dry as dust professors and routine-ridden doctors have. Love, devotion, passion.
Let's change gears to what you're doing now. What's exciting for you? What projects do you have on the go?
For the last 6 months, we've been developing a bunch of new stuff as normal, making more handmade things like glasses with leather-etched labels on them that are kind of entertaining, to different bags and so on. So just developing more products. I've been doing a series of cereal prints that are kind of inspired by, the monster cereals like Count Chocula and all that. So I've made my own line of those. So in the future, I'll take all those prints together and compile them into a Saturday morning breakfast book of some sort. What else? So we're doing a Kickstarter. This will probably will have already been over, but it's called Ultra Degos, and it's a Kickstarter for shirts for Poe, Rasputin, Tesla, and Lovecraft. But it's an alternative world, so it's not how they died in gloom, but rather how they reinvigorated their lives by taking on different careers than their core ones. So like Rasputin has a hypnosis academy for villains, and Lovecraft is a paranormal investigator. Tesla made Nicola Cola. So anyway, that's a big deal for us. Just kind of follow our passion for this year. Our theme is secretly or not so secretly is villainy. So we've got a lot of villain themed products that we're doing this year. Next year we'll have a different sort of sub themes. But that sort of is something to focus on a little bit to make this year different than last or next. We've been doing hand-printed screen prints in our kitchen, printing on wood. That's a new thing this year. Instead of just printing on paper, we do an edition of our prints on 3/4-inch birch plywood, so it's really chunky and thick and ready to hang and doesn't require frames. We're always cooking up new stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting.
Thought it was a fair gamble. Either I'd find myself or get it out of my system.
You have so much knowledge in booth design and helping people out, and I know you like to help and give back in the Phoenix sort of art scene. You do help a lot of people with their businesses and whatnot. One of the things that I've been feeling recently is sort of you get to a point and you feel that your products is going well and you're moving forward, but you also start to lose a little bit of faith. And I hear this quote keeps playing in my head. This it's darkest right before the dawn, or there's that other story where there's a miner and he's digging and he stops an inch before he gets to the diamond mine or whatever. But did you ever go through that a period like that personally, even though you see things seem to keep going, but you sort of plateaued and then you're sort of wondering, is this really the right way, or has it always just been a constant progression and this is exactly what you should be doing?
Well, yeah, back to 2008, that the economy took a turn in 2008. And so we, continued to work hard, put out all kinds of new stuff. But sales did flatten out that year. And yeah, I was really worried that, man, maybe we've done something wrong, or what am I doing wrong, or why aren't I here yet? But you've just got to keep on grinding through and working on stuff and being true and authentic to your vision. That's kind of what gets you through those tough spots versus going, hey, what will sell really good right now? What about a Doctor Who My Little Pony mashup? So that's kind of serving like just a short-term master, right? No long-term vision there. And that's kind of what a lot of people do, is they just chase the buck. And for me, the money is certainly important, but it isn't the number one thing with us at all. So our thing is just trying to get people, behind our brand and caring about it. And so, when sometimes when people come up to the booth, they'll apologize because they don't have any money. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, I'll leave. I don't have any money. I'm like, oh, it's okay, man. This is a gallery. Come check it out. Enjoy it. Embrace them. Well, not literally, but, just, but welcome them to the brand. You've just got to have a long-term vision for what you're trying to accomplish and what you want it to be. And I think for us, one really important thing was we really identified the kind of life we wanted to live. What lifestyle, not like, I'll have a purse made of diamonds, but rather, I want to be surrounded by other creative people. I want to not be grubbing for money all the time. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to take a vacation once in a while. I want to have a TV that I can watch movies on because I love watching films, but I'm not trying to get rich. I'm not trying to be a multimillionaire. I don't want to get my art in Target. And I also don't like doing work for other people. I don't like doing work for hire. I don't do freelance work. That's just one of my principles because I've done it for 20 years for other people. Now it's my turn to get to call the shots and decide what I draw. So with all that stuff in mind, when an opportunity comes, if it doesn't take me on that path towards the life I'm trying to live, I say no. Even if it's money that I kind of would be nice to have, most of the time that's a distraction. It's going to take me away from the core goal that I'm trying to build with this viable brand. So, saying no is real important and knowing what you're trying to do. So anyway, I think those things can get you through the hard parts, and all of us have our ups and downs. But first day of, WonderCon ever, I had more compliments and more interest in my art than I'd had my whole life, all combined. So, there's some power there that goes, wow, this is pretty awesome.
I've talked with a lot of people that they are afraid to go after their passion, or they're not sure what the next step is. And by the sounds of it, you just went all in, and then things continue to just snowball from there. And, there's obviously ups and downs and a learning curve. And yeah, it's really empowering to hear when people have changed directions and gone towards a lifestyle that's way more fulfilling.
Absolutely. One of our display setups, we used it for probably 4 years, was all PVC pipe. Okay, so imagine that you have a wall that's 20 feet wide and about 12 feet high, but it's all made by two foot pipes. And we put it all together. It would take hours to assemble it every time. A lot of other artists would walk by, especially Artist Alley guys, and they'd go, that looks like a lot of work. Takes me 5 minutes to set up. That was fine with me because SteamCo isn't about avoiding work, right? It's about attracting and treating our people right. And, for us, it was about having a great looking display. And it didn't matter if it took us 10 hours to set it up. Sometimes people try to skirt this thing where they want to avoid hard work in order to get what they want. I have artists that I'm a huge fan of. And, I'm like, oh, my talent pales in comparison to them. So one way to make that up is to work hard, or harder than a lot of other people. Anyway, we have our slogan here that we do some things sometimes the hardest possible way. But, sometimes doing things that are harder it's harder to replicate. I feel like, we try to continue to, develop and invent our own ideas. And if we're just following someone else, we'd just be kind of always cursed to follow. So we just try to innovate as much as we can, as we go.
It would be an extremely tough act to follow. The blog, going to all the conventions, and the videos that you put out are like really funny and very well edited and everything. And I'm sure you have 100 other things that you do that maybe don't get noticed, but all these things like add up into this amazing brand and the products that you put out. So I don't know, I'm just totally in awe of what you've done and your booth. So For the future, where do you see Steam Crow going? Is it just, you just continue to make these incremental improvements, or is there something bigger that maybe it's secret, or maybe there's something you can talk about that you guys are working on?
Sometimes people ask that question. They kind of think, well, so what's your end game? Are you trying to do something like make an animated movie or sell your stuff to Disney? And I'm like, no. This is the dream. Like, this is the dream. It's not something else other than this. We just need to do it at a level where we can go, wow, we can actually afford to take a long vacation or go and stay in a city that we're visiting for a number of days, So it's just a matter of that growth. But in the future, we want to do some things that are obviously more interesting and kind of cool. So one idea we have that we're going to consider is, or working on, is called Steam Crow Arts and Crafts. And it's going to be a video series where Donna was an art teacher for 17 years. She has her master's degree in education, so she's really great at talking to people and teaching in video, even in a way that I'm really awkward and not. But we're going to make this video series that's going to take and do little craft things and show you how to make Steam Crow stuff yourself, and or how to use some of our products, like our wall monsters for our Kickstarter. Well, we'll show you how to cut them out or how to use them or that sort of thing. And that might be a Patreon model. We're thinking that, some of it will be free and some of it, if we can get people to help support it, that'd be awesome too, but make it inexpensive. That is one thing. Another thing we're starting, which is my crazy thing, is I've always wanted our community to have a name. Like, I've tried all kinds of different little things like the Steam Crew or the Team Crow, by manipulating our name, trying to come up with a fan group. And I hate the word fan, so please don't judge me on the word fan. But, whatever, our support group of patrons are awesome people. And so our crazy idea is we're going to launch a thing in 2015 called the Steam Crow Scouts. Wink, wink, we've discovered the Steam Crow Scouts that were started in 1913, and it predates the Boy Scouts or whatever. And basically, it's for all the kids that see monsters in the world. And but it's going to be a variety of products and merit badges that you can earn by being a patron of ours, to being an activist where you help get the word out, to being a participant. The people that help us run our booth can earn all kinds of different merit badges, basically. They're laser cut out of leather. And what the point of it is to try to build community. So, if you see somebody else with a Steam Crow Scout patch, you might go, hey, Steam Crow? I know Steam Crow. That's cool. And, maybe, become friends or something.
I love that idea. And when you launch that, definitely count me in as a Steam Crow Scout if I can make it past the initiation phase.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, you just earned a merit badge by having this interview. See? So the point is, I want to make it fun to participate with our brand, and I want to reward people. So that's that. But we've found that there's all this cool stuff you can do. Like, I can't wait to make a 1920s video, with join the Steam Crow Scouts, and make it all awful and funny. It doesn't require buying anything to participate at all. Our new business cards, in fact, the reverse of the Steam Crow side is a Steam Crow Scouts membership card. So just getting our card, you're really a member at that point. But if you want to get deeper, you can. We've got military bags that we're going to have that. You can put your patches on that if you want, but you don't have to. However it works. But it's going to be designed and really cool. And basically online, I'm going to have a Steam Crow Scouts page, and it'll have a list of the merit badges you can earn and sort of like challenges. Hey, go do this. Go post about us on your blog, earn this merit badge, or go do this, or come see us at this, or bring us coffee and get a coffee scout badge. So if you show up with a Starbucks caramel macchiato for Donna and this for me, you can, get yourself a badge. So anyway, that's the idea. But I think it's sort of fun and also kind of status. You get a few of those things. It looks pretty cool. And design-wise, it's designed really cool. I can actually share a photo with you here after the show, and we can talk about it. But anyway, that'll be releasing soon. I'm already hinting on it on my Facebook page. You'll start to see it around.
Awesome. So let's wrap this up. Where can people find out more about you, and maybe throw out some of the conventions, since you go to so many, so that if somebody's local, they could go and meet you live, because I think that's amazing. And if you're listening and Dan and Donna and Steam Crow is going to be in your city, definitely go check them out. It's totally worth the trip.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, by the way. In August, we're appearing at the Wonderground Gallery, which is Disney's gallery. We got invited to show off our stuff for 2 appearances in August. So that's pretty cool. They invite us there and they sell our work for the month. That's kind of a neat thing. And then after the Alamo City Comic-Con in September, I don't know what else is coming up. We've got the Tucson Comic-Con, and I don't know, there's even more than that, I think. And then we really just get back to, like, we're going to try to take a month or two, December and January maybe, to just build up a lot of artwork, because we're finding that as the shows go and start, it gets really hard to keep making art. So we kind of stockpile a bunch. But again, next year we'll be at WonderCon, Emerald City Comic-Con, Tucson Festival of Books, the LA Times Festival of Books. We're committed to all those shows pretty much already. Denver Comic-Con is a great show for us. So yeah, I think we're up to about 15, 16 events a year, and we kind of, the ones we do, we're doing bigger. So we do a 10 by 20 in most cities. At Phoenix this year, we did Phoenix Comic-Con, that's a great show. We do a 20 by 20 booth there. So yeah, we're at a bunch of shows. But if you're not in any of those regions, which is primarily the West, please participate with us online. We're on Facebook, which is look for Steam Crow, Facebook/Steam Crow, and on Twitter, Steam Crow again. There is our name, and then steamcrow.com. Those are the core places. I've got my feelers in all kinds of other places like Pinterest and Tumblr and Instagram and all that. Just look for Steam Crow in the circuits you're in and see if you can find us there. But, currently Facebook tends to be the place where people are interacting the most, so I spend more energy there.
Awesome. If you want to find out more about Steam Crow, there's all those places that you can reach out, Facebook being the best. Thank you so much, Dan, for taking the time while you're prepping to get to San Diego to do this interview. And we'll be back next week with another great interview. So thanks a lot, Dan, and I'll speak to you soon.
Hey, thank you so much.
Back episodes, show notes, and a couple of other goodies that you're going to have to find out for yourself, head on over to pencilkings.com/podcast.